Hi everyone, Ben DeBono here from the Sci-Fi Christian to talk to you about House of the Dragon, Episode 6, The Queen and the Princess, or The Princess and the Queen, I don't remember which order it went in, doesn't matter. A little late tonight, uh, my evening took a turn when my 8-year-old decided to shove a popcorn kernel in his ear. 2 hours in urgent care later, still in there. He gets to go to the ENT. Holy shit, kids are interesting sometimes. But yeah, great episode tonight. We get the time jump forward by 10 years, though I was doing the math in my mind with the ages of the kids, especially Aegon, because he was, what, 2 years old, 3 years old, something like that, when we last left him. And Ty Tennant, David Tennant's son, I'm not sure how old he is in real life, but he's definitely not 12. And he's old enough to be jerking off out the window. I nearly died on that scene. So, um, part of why it was so funny, outside of the obvious, is Ricky Gervais has a stand up bit from several years ago where he's reading from a pamphlet that was, I guess, put out during the AIDS crisis. And the pamphlet is alternatives to anal sex for gay couples. And the ideas are ridiculous. I think one of them was like come in a watermelon. Then the last one on the pamphlet, just look it up. Just search for Ricky Gervais pamphlet. You'll see the bit. But the last suggestion on this pamphlet is why not both come out the window? They made it come alive here on House of the Dragon. So it was like one of my favorite stand up bits come true. So that was great. All sorts of horrific things. Let me get my notes here in front of me. Not a great week for childbirth. You know, that scene to begin it was just brutal. No, it's easily the best childbirth we've seen on this show so far, between the C-section and then the not C-section dragon fire alternative at the end of this one. But man, I've got 6 kids. Got 7, one of them to be born here in a couple of months. And so, having sat through that, I was sitting there like, I know my wife wasn't out and about walking around 2 seconds after giving birth. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, they, silly showrunners, they forgot about the placenta. Nope, they got that in there. Man, that was a really intense bit. And then we have Layman, I think, whatever his name is, her husband, um, who says he just like has his greatest hits of what not to say to a woman, um, right after she gives birth. The first one is, was it terribly painful? Yes. If you're curious about that, the answer is yes. And you don't ask that to a woman right after she finishes giving birth. And then the second thing you don't say is, boy, I'm glad I'm not a woman. But then he just tops himself. Yeah, he is not a ladies' man. He tops it all at the end by naming the child after his dead gay lover. Like, that's just the trifecta of things not to say and do immediately after your wife gives childbirth. That one's probably right at the top of the list. I mean, I know they have an understanding. They're all okay with it, but still, and don't name your kid Joffrey in the Game of Thrones universe. That's just, you don't want to do that. Um, I love the whole open secret thing that's going on. Everybody knows it. The king even knows it. Viserys, who's somehow still alive. He's reminding me of that guy in the Monty Python, in Holy Grail, where they're trying to, they bring out your dead scene. They're loading the old guy onto the cart. Like, that's Viserys. I'm not dead yet. But we saw that rat at the end of the episode. Damn lighter's not working. Which I guess rats are going to be symbols of people dying or almost dying. But I don't know if Viserys is still holding on after last week. Maybe he's got it in him for a little bit longer. Stupid lighter. Am I out of fuel? Probably. We'll just have to see if this goes. I'm smoking a Filthy Viking, by the way, which is just a phenomenal cigar. Very little known. I haven't ever seen it get a lot of press. I wasn't even aware of it until somebody recommended it to me. So it seemed appropriate today because my football team, the Vikings, had an absolutely filthy game that they somehow won. So Filthy Viking seemed appropriate. I really like the How to Train Your Dragon scene. That was great. I mean, again, the one big critique I have of the show, even though I continue to praise the cinematography, is they need to turn up the lights. Like, you can't see a damn thing happening in half of these scenes, and it's a problem. It's obnoxious because the cinematography, the set design, the costumes, the CGI are all just top notch when we can see them. So that's bugging me. It's like the opposite problem. Actually, there's a couple contrast points to Rings of Power. Opposite problem, Rings of Power, where it's like, we're going to have every scene super bright so you can see how much money we spent on this. That's the only thing they have going for them on that show. But the How to Train Your Dragon scene was great. Love the little pig joke. That was good. And then Aemon wandering around looking for his own dragon. We'll see how that goes. Good old Sir Kristen is back, and whichever one of those daytime shows, is it Maury who does the "You Are the Father"? No, Sir Kristen is not the father, and he's a bitter little bastard. And I liked it how he's talking to Alicent, and he is rattling off all the things he hates about Rhaenyra, and then he calls her a cunt. It's like, that's the bridge too far. After calling her this vicious spider who hurts everything around her. It's like, well, okay, I guess that wasn't polite, but I don't think that anything you said right up until the C word was exactly complimentary. And then he's like, apologizing for it. Another good contrast point to Rings of Power is the sword training scene. So if you're watching Rings of Power, if you're not, I should say, and you're not missing anything outside of a lot of, you've lost the argument, but you resort to the C word. We had a couple C word drops in this episode. I forget what the other one was, but it was got a workout tonight. But the sword training scene, so Rings of Power is an absurd show. It's wildly entertaining from a laughing at it, not with it perspective. But they had a sword training scene in that the most recent episode, and it was absurd, and it was just one of, an endless string of stupid moments in that show. And you're just rolling your eyes at it the whole time. And then we get the contrast here. It's like, man, they didn't plan it. Obviously, these shows are written independently, filming at the same time and everything. But holy crap, like, here we have, this is what a training scene looks like, where Rings of Power felt like you were watching a video game, and a bad one at that. This is grounded, and it becomes the sort of epicenter of this episode of whatever his name is, Harwin Strong, losing his shit and going nuts on Sir Kristen, and just the tension between these two houses. It's like, okay, these two families, one house. We've had this time jump, and we got to need to reset things. How are things developing? You missed my book reviews. Well, thank you, Cal. Well, I appreciate it. Maybe I'll try and do some book reviews. It's not sci-fi fantasy. I'm sorry for people watching later. I'm responding to the live comments, but I did just finish reading Heat 2, which is Michael Mann's sequel to his great, great crime movie. Not sci-fi fantasy, but if you're looking for a good book recommendation and you love Heat, like I do, phenomenal movie. And this was a great prequel/sequel. He goes whole Godfather 2 on the bit. I can't recommend it highly enough. Absolutely loved it. So there's your book recommendation to tide you over. But maybe I'll try and see if I can bring back a book review or two. It's been a while. We gotta get those going again now that I'm here streaming all over the place after a few years off. Uh, Now I've lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, just this epicenter here in this episode. You got to reset the things after the time jump. What are the stakes and everything after all this time has passed? Um, and it's like, okay, the tension between them, if you weren't picking up on it before, now it's right there in that. You see it all bursting out between Kristen and Harwin and the kids and Viserys just being his usual can't we all get along self. No. Like Viserys, you moron. Can't we all get along? They cannot get along. He seems to be the only one who does not understand what's going on. Or maybe it's like with his daughter, where he does see it, but just not gonna deal with it. Um, so that was really really good. Damon has a new wife, and this well had a new wife. So 2 episodes in a row where Damon has had a wife die. So we'll hope that he's not. You know, we'll talk about the Spy Master here in a second. Great character. Laurie's almost sounds like Varys, but Laurie's strong. Really enjoying that character. But yeah, Damon loses another wife this week. We'll hope he's not married next week because this is not going well for them. But this marriage was going way better, even though he apparently is shunning his daughter. But it's like, considering how his last family attempt went, this one's going pretty good. This is practically Father of the Year standards by Damon. Um, I did also like. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit. Um, I did also like that we have the new lover Carlo, and I was just thinking through this whole episode after we heard his name that's what the next baby is going to be named. So this one was Joffrey. So the next baby will be Carlo Targaryen, which is just a great name. It won't happen, but I would love to see a character named Carlo Targaryen on this show. Oh, and then we have the council scene. I'll talk about Laurie Strong here in a second. We'll end on that, but the council scene of Rhaenyra shooting her shot, um, was fantastic. And then her embarrassment. But hey, she's a new mom. That's gonna happen. But Alicent just drawing everybody's attention to the fact that she's leaking and. Um, just what a bitch. Allison is definitely turning into a bitch of a character. And she shoots her shot, and Viserys sees the wisdom in it, not strong enough as a ruler to do anything with it. It's like, he's such a weak man. Physically, morally, intellectually, every way that you can be weak, Viserys is weak. And henpecked now on top of everything else. All right, so Lara's strong. Really like this character. Yeah, why does he hate, as one of the comments on here said, why does he hate his father and brother so much? Well, he doesn't hate him anymore. He burns him to death in Harrenhal. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm kind of of two minds of it. Like, be interesting to get some backstory there, but I kind of just like that he's this creepy, evil, plotting character. Yeah, Grima Wormtongue vibes, or for Game of Thrones, he's kind of a combination of Viserys and Littlefinger, not Viserys, Varys and Littlefinger. Um, I like that we have a character like that. And even though that is the obvious comparison between Varys and Littlefinger, he's also his own man. He's in that realm, but it's not just a rehash of those two. He's kind of doing his own thing. Um, and then, cutting off the tongues, which was not the worst medical procedure in this episode. Just continuing the trend of horrible medical things happening on this show. Uh, yeah, so terrific character. I'm trying to remember from Fire and Blood what happens with him. I don't remember, so this is not a spoiler. This is a prediction. But I think he's going to wind up as Hand of the King here. That seems to be the direction that we're going in. And if you watch the preview for next week, we saw somebody getting the hand pinned on them. We did not see who. So I'm going to say it's going to be Laurie's Strong. And I guess you can go read, or in my case, reread Fire and Blood if you want to find out if that prediction is correct, or we can just hang around till next week. So Rhaenyra and Fam, yeah, Otto's still out there, so it could be Otto, but we'll see. Rhaenyra and fam go to Dragonstone, and the pieces are set. Although I don't remember what happens with Lares and Fire and Blood, I do know what happens next. It's probably pretty, you can probably see it coming at this point. I won't say what, but I think the rest of this season's going to be a banger. So excited to see where it goes. Continue to just really be impressed by this show. Looking forward to the last 4 episodes. I think that's all I got here for this one. So thanks for watching, everybody. Bendy Bono, Sci-Fi Christian. We'll talk to you guys next week. Or this week if you want to watch me rip Rings of Power apart.